Hey folks, this is Ben back with you in the Midwest Model Shop. Thank you to everyone who's gone to our website, themidwestmodelshop.com, and made a purchase recently. Really do appreciate all of the support. We hope that these parts that we're selling do help you with your build and make your, especially a lot of the Titanic builds, go a lot smoother and be more accurate and fun and enjoyable. Okay, so today on the Duchess of Kingston, we're going to get a little bit more serious about the standing rigging. Now, I did a little completely off-camera rigging with the shrouds on the mizzen mast. I ran those up and on because what I really want to do is work on the things that are in the middle of the ship that I know will be difficult to get my fingers to later on. So fortunately this works out, and what we're going to do is do the Mizzen Stay, the lower Mizzen Stay. It's the first time I've ever done this. Some mistakes are made, some hunting around is done, but what we're going to do is you're going to see the shrouds, that you would climb up. Those are just in place, if I'm even using the right word. That's the other thing. I'm going to say the wrong things a lot. I don't know the names to all these parts, and I'm trying to put two and two together with the instructions and some of the other things that I have, so apologies for that. But we're going to build the Mizzen Stay. We're going to actually go above and beyond what the kit instructions have, and we're gonna weave a mouse, or try to. I'm not going to do it the way that you see in this video in the future, but you can do it this way. We'll get the stay put in a position, and we'll go ahead and figure out how to run the crow's feet. And that's basically the bulk of the video. And you'll see a lot of the steps that I'm going to take or use to achieve these little knots and setups and everything. So hopefully you get an idea of, if I apply this method, I can use it for all these other different things. At least that's the point. I'm mostly happy with how the crow's feet and the mizzen mast stay turned out. Just this morning I looked at it and I was like, wait a minute. The crow's feet are the length and setup per the drawings, but on the picture on the box, they should be longer to match what's on the box. And what's on the box looks pretty cool. So I was a little disappointed about that maybe I had made them too small. But that's what the drawings, their position matches what the drawings are. And then I started looking at the ship some more, and I was like, well, wait. As I move forward, and I go to the main mast and then the foremast, if I bring the crow's feet down to the same point as where they're at horizontally in the mizzen mast, they'll be nice and big and long, and they'll look good. And you don't want them to actually be in the way your functional rigging for the sails. You want them to be, standing rigging needs to be where it is and not in the way of the ship functioning, right? So your yard arms and such can move. So basically, yeah, that's what this episode's about. Then we're gonna, in the next episode, we will start off with how I'm gonna do the shrouds. Basically, there's nothing crazy there, but I'll show how to do that, and then I'm gonna move forward with the rest of the ship. This episode has a lot of me kind of thinking out loud, making some mistakes, and then later in the video realizing things I could have done differently, and I kind of spit it out and share those things. It's a learning experience, and moving forward. One thing is for certain though, the ropes of scale, that's the website, ropes of scale, their rigging is fantastic. This stuff, everything's working exactly how I want. There's no kinks. I'm not struggling with little fuzzies. It all lays naturally. It goes the way you would expect it to go. It's been a real joy to work with, and I cannot plug them enough, or anyone else who makes the stuff out of the Guterman for that matter, because I think there's somebody in the United States who also produces this stuff. But Ben up in Canada at ropescale.com does an outstanding job. So yeah, I think that's it for now. Thank you to everyone who goes to our website. Thank you all the patrons. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this stuff. And yeah, let's get into it. All right, folks, we're back with a bunch of stuff done, not done, moved along. So the most obvious thing here is we have the masts installed, and they are glued in now. The bowsprit is not permanently installed, but we're going to be getting there. Part of that was so that we can, easily turn the ship without whacking it. But I'm discovering with what I want to do next, it's going to have to go in sooner rather than later. A quick note for the mizzen mast in the back here, which you see there's rigging. We'll address that in a minute here. Down here, it's hard to see. There's a hole that the mizzen mast is supposed to sit in. And I thought it was seated in that little hole just a little bit. It actually drops down in quite a fair bit. So it is important that you sand the top here at the base of the deck so that this will drop in and line up with that hole, and then you're good to go. Okay, so I started some of the standing rigging that you see right here. And I'm going to cover all of this and how I did it. I'm not totally happy with these. I'm going to make some changes moving forward here that our main mast and our foremast. But I didn't actually want to start here. I wanted to start with the standing rigging that runs in the middle. However, I've learned that you're not supposed to do that. So there's you can see right down here we've got this little block, right? And what happens is we've got a line that comes up to our mizzen mast, and then we've got the little crow's feet that attach to it. I'm really excited about the crow's feet, and I want to attach that. Well, fortunately, I made like a good, happy mistake. So you do have to put this standing rigging on first, because this line that runs up in between that goes on the crow's feet, it wraps around the top of the mizzen mast here. It sits on top of, it's supposed to sit on top of this standing rigging here to climb up and down with your little shrouds and stuff. So you do have to put these on first. But if we turn this ship sideways here, I'll come down like so. Here you can see my block. Here you can see the other blocks for the shrouds going up to the main mast. So they're going to come up through here. Well, behind all of it is where this rigging's at. So if I put these into position first, now I'm going to have to wiggle my hands back through here to do a bunch of work, and that's no bueno. So what I'm going to do here is, fortunately, this is done. We'll cover how to do all this later. What I'm going to do is make up next the line that we need here for the Mizzen Stay is what it's called, and it runs down through here, and then we have these crow's feet that I'm very excited about we could put in, and then this very middle section here will be complete. And there's another like right here, there's the mizzen topmast stay that'll get secured onto here and go up, but nothing will be in the way of that. We don't have to worry about it. So then once the mizzen stay is in place, then we can come forward here and we can redo our little lines that go up here. And once that's done, I actually will have to insert the bowsprit because the main mast stay goes down. It connects here also, but then there's another line that goes to our bowsprit, so we'll need that in a position. And then once that is all done, right, then we can go ahead and run our rigging up that goes right here. Anyway, we'll get the standing rigging in that goes up here. So yeah, the couple other things I wanted to show you. We did a little detail work here. All right, so we've installed the anchor rope, if you will. This heavy line I purchased from Ropes to Scale, and I think it's far superior to the kit piece that's a little fuzzy. This is a much tighter and nicer look. Then right above it here, there's this little, it's for the bell. It's a little rope that hangs off this little black photo etch thing that you pull and it would ring the bell. I didn't realize that was the arrangement here, otherwise I probably would have set this up so that the bell could pivot and swing back and forth, and it wouldn't ring, but it'd be one more thing to like pull, right? And it would just be a little bit more realistic. These ropes and this were all installed before I monkeyed around with anything else, and that is why we have this wad of our line just stowed up here for the time being. Most of this is going to disappear, but it's going to be used to get the anchor secured in a position. Then we'll We can either adjust the slack down into the hold, or if it works out nicely, I'll just cut it off and we'll secure the anchor. That's down the road. So the ship is looking good. We've just got a lot to do. So the next thing, like I said earlier, we're going to work on this Mizzen Stay, and we're going to put in the little crow's feet up here, which I'm really excited about. And that's going to involve a bunch of rigging and monkeying around and using our book, Rigging Period Ship Models. All right, let's get into it. All right, we're getting the Mizzen Stay underway, and the first thing that has to be done is it needs to be served. So I've got our 0.70 in this case. Supposed to be, the kit call is 0.75 millimeter line up here, and then we're using our super thin Gutermann to serve it. And I'm going out all the way to this end here. This is 10 millimeters. This is the initial stretch that for sure needs to be served, and then we're going to worry about what are they calling it, a mouse? It's basically a little stop block thing. We'll show all that. But anyway, starting off by serving here. We're going to do that first. Okay, so our line has now been served just on this end, and this is just enough for the top end that's going to wrap around the mizzen mast. This will all make sense. I'll have a little loop in it. It's going to basically like cinch on itself. But you get this little bead, okay, and this bead is supposed to be your mouse. So basically what's going to happen is this bead ends up right about here on our little line, and this end will go around and make a loop, and this is basically a stop. So like the line will cinch down and it'll bump up against this, and you'll be good to go. Okay, so bear with me here. So this bead is not very round. It's got this high spot. I don't know why. What I'm going to do is get out my little file, and I'm going to try and knock off that high spot right there. And then I will take this line loose from our little whole mechanism, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick this thing on here right about there. I think that's the appropriate distance, leaving it about an inch. And earlier I said 10 millimeters, 10 centimeters served. We'll stick this on here, and then I've made a little jiggerooski here. And what we're going to do is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 strings are going to go through here. And I'm going to have them wrapped around this end, and I'm going to have them come up through this little guide to kind of keep them straight. And we're going to serve around and weave in between this bead. I saw this done on a video. It looked really nice. I think that's probably how they actually did it. And it'll hold this stop. I mean, we just glue it in place, but it'll hold it in position, probably something more like the real thing. I probably shouldn't use this bead. I probably should be using like some putty or something and making like a little ball that's a little bit more accurate. But this is what they give you in the kit. I want to try and use it. We'll see how it all works out. And if there's all a giant catastrophe, you'll tell. And let me show you what we're going for. All right, so this is the idea, and this is the mouse. So this area here is where the mizzen mast would be, like right there where it comes through. It would wrap around that. There's your little mouse. It cinches up on itself, and then it goes down here to the main mast where it's secured. So that's what we're making here. Okay, pressing on. Okay, that's not the bead. Annoyingly, the bead didn't work out. I think it's actually ceramic, and so filing it wasn't going to work. I was thinking it was plastic. So this might not work at all. What we have here is 2-part milliput epoxy, or not epoxy, milliput putty mixed together and just shaped kind of into what I think is a little bit more accurate and the right size. The problem is, as you can see, I've gotten it on the line and other parts. That's okay. I'm still going to press on with my little jig here, and I'm going to try and wrap this up the way that I want. So once this is, it's mostly dry, but I'm going to paint it black. I'm not going to paint out here where I've gone over. I should have like wrapped tape around it or protected it or something. And then it occurred to me after the fact, I'm like, you could just 3D print this shape, slide it on there, and then you'd be good to go. And maybe I will for the other ones, but you probably don't have a 3D printer. So this is something you could do with Milliput. You also could take a piece of wood, a little dowel rod, sand it to the shape, and then run a drill bit right down the middle of it and slide it on here. That's an option too. Anyway, I'm going to paint this black. We're going to leave this white stuff for now, and we're going to try our little experiment with making this mouse basically look like a wad of rope, nice and decorative, that's a stop for our loop. I hope it works. We'll see here. Alright, pressing on. Alright, I wanted to show you this silliness before we get too carried away here. So in the middle, I didn't mean to do that. In the middle here is our mouse. I have not painted it black yet. I'm going to do it now, but I left it white so that you guys could see what's going on. I've made this little disc and ran 8 lines through it. They're 0.5 mil in diameter. I've seized them here, and what I'm going to do, I'll paint this black. I'm going to take this line that we're seizing, and I'm going to weave in and out through each one of these lines around the mouse, and then come back down here and finish seizing off like you see right here. That is the plan. That's the idea. I saw this on another gentleman's video. I was like, oh, that's fantastic. That's probably what the mouse is supposed to look like. In the future, I think I might 3D print these to avoid this mess. And when I'm done, I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if this big, huge line right here will look right. I'll try and feather it out to nothing and run my C's back up. I don't know. But this is kind of an ambitious thing because I have to feed a large amount of this thread, which is on a spool, through here via a needle. It's probably the easiest way to keep track of things. But I don't know how much I need. So I'm going to have to pull a giant wad off of here and hope that that's enough. I don't know how long we're going to go, maybe 2 feet. That's probably plenty, actually. Probably could get away with maybe just doing 6 or 7 inches. But when I'm done, I should have this really cool looking shape that we'll get a lot closer to. So let me see. Let's get this painted and dried, and then we'll see if we can't actually go through with that process. All right? Press it on. All right. I've started my pattern here. I've completely lost my mind, and this time this isn't any of you guys telling me. So we're just gonna go. Let's see here. It's just a over under. So that one was under. This one was over, under, like that. I'm gonna pull it back. And what's nice about this is I can rotate this whole thing to see what I'm doing. So that one's an under. So then we go over, under, like that, and we'll pull it on down, turn this thing, there we go. So I'm going to keep going like this, and we should get a neat looking pattern here pretty soon. Let's see, so we went under. Yeah, you get the idea. We'll keep going like that. I know this is crazy, but I think you get the idea of the pattern here, and you'll see results when I'm done. All right, press on. Okay, so here we go. It looks like a knotted mess, and I opted not to show you everything. But basically, I started this way, and I got about halfway up, and I had to stop. And then you have to come the other way, weaving in and out, and then you can continue on in, and you're done. And then when I finished, I did a final seize on both ways, trying to kind of narrow out what I'd applied. I think the big issue is this all probably should have come off so that it was much narrower, looking like this. My knot pattern is not even. I had one of the big main ropes come out on me, and yeah, was it worth the effort? Yeah, I think so. It was practice, first one. When it's up on the ship, it looks good. So what has to happen next is this next part that's seized needs to come back around, and we'll end up getting looped. It's going to make a little loop like that, right? So that this pulls and stops. That's the idea, and then we seize it there. And this end goes around the mizzen mast. The other end will make a block and secure it into position. So let's go ahead and figure out, basically all I have to do is figure out what kind of real estate I have, how much distance here, and make my loop and then seize it. Okay, here's my little jig again, holding everything. So over here, I've marked off, you can't see, there's a piece of tape giving me the bottom of the loop, and so now all I need to do is seize this line together right here. So what I'm going to do is take my little line, I'm going to start down here. I'm going to start below where the seize is here, or about there, and tie that off. And then I like to come down so that the CA glue doesn't cause my line to end up sticking straight out. And then we'll just wrap it on up like this until our loop that we want is all seized up here. So that we can put it on the plane, or on the ship. Now, yes, this would be easier to do in my serving machine, but I don't have quite the distance. These are adjustable, my little grabbers here, and they're not on the serving machine. I'd have to, basically this is just faster. That's the long story short. So we'll go like so until we got tight enough. Right about here should be enough. That was, this is probably too long, and some of you are probably looking at me saying, what are you doing? But I haven't done this before, and I'm still trying to sort this all out. So we'll put a little glue on here to hold this thing. And we'll tie it off. I'm going to run it down in here. A little more glue, and we'll trim it off, and we'll give it a look-see. See how it fits. Okay, so here it is. I'm banging in everything, but as you can see, there's the little cinch. There's the mouse. It grabs on and it pulls down. So now the line, the Mizzen Stay, comes down, and it will attach down here. A little background here to that block. So we have to put in another block here, right, so that we can then do this arrangement, right, to secure the Mizzen Stay, and then that'll be all set. And then there's our little this actually comes down like this. So then we have to, there's another little rigging deal here, so we could put the parts in place that we need for the crow's feet, which is what I really wanted to do. Am I happy with my Mizzen Stay? Mostly. It looks a little big, and maybe it is, right? It's the first time I've done it. This scale actually will look fine on the main mast, which everything's a lot bigger. So what I'm going to do differently next time is either make my little block out of wood, or I'll 3D print instead of using the mixed two-part epoxy to make up a thing here. That kind of seemed problematic. But I feel like, we're kind of off to the right start there, and I like the way that looks. Again, this is a little dirty. I'll have to paint it black or something like that. But yeah, so next course of business is we need a deadeye at the end of this line about yay far away. So we'll do that next. Alright, moving on with that whole deadeye situation. So this little piece of tape denotes the top of where I want my deadeye to be. I've applied a little CA glue to the line and stuck it in my clamp. I've also, as you see over here, clamped the deadeye, or the my mouse knot and loop into position in the orientation of how it will be around the mizzen mast in an attempt to keep the whole line and everything level. I want these to be coplanar and not twist too much, or at least that's my hope. The other comment is you want to make sure that this deadeye, if you're going to do it loose like this, will fit through the loop that we made earlier. And I pre-checked that with an existing sized deadeye, 3mm, and it will fit through there. Otherwise, one would have to wrap this around the mizzen mast top and then with it attached to the ship accomplish this little seize operation right here to make sure that everything lines up. So now I just need to get my little piece of tape out of the way here. I hope I can do this without cutting the line, and then we'll go ahead and wrap our line up around here, and then that will be one step closer to getting the mizzen mast stay installed. I'll slide this out of the way, making a mess of everything with my tape, but it's the way that it is. Alright, so we can go ahead and start the little seizing operation here. I'm going to start with just an overhand knot because even though technically, you know, I could do a proper seize, making a loop and wrapping around everything, that would have had to have been pre-accomplished that prior to this point. Whoops, too tight there. And this is just easier. When we're done, it's basically going to look the same, so who cares? We'll put a little CA glue on our line here so we can pull our knot tight. And the other thing you can do is you can put a little CA glue between the line so that they stay parallel, like that. And we'll just go to right there, and then since I'm doing this, I'm going to end up cutting this. I'll just put a little CA glue back in here so it doesn't fray on me when that all comes apart, or when we're all done there. Now, since we're doing alright, we'll get rid of this. Alright, that's probably good. So what I like to do, put a little CA glue over here just to hold it in a position so it doesn't unravel on me, and then I can tie off my end, my knot. Just like that. Alright, and then we can trim it up and get ready for the installation. Okay, so now our line is in place, and then all we have to do is come down here. I know this is a little bit bigger gap, but we'll run our little loop around and secure all this. Alright, our little lashing is in place. The mizzen line is in place. Off camera, I went ahead and put in this little 2mm block. So I've got another one matching, prepped and ready to go. This is for the mizzen itself, and it needs to get put into position kind of like right here, pretty tight. Oh geez, like this. Get my fingers out of the way here, so that we could then run our little lines off the crow's feet off of the mizzen. And this is all pretty close here. It'll be much more dramatic under our main mast and everything like that, but this one's pretty little. So anyway, the thing now, I got to put this into place, and that will lean just a little bit, probably not a lot the way I've got it. So one of my thoughts was that I would run a line through the little mizzen, up through the little hole here, and just kind of tie it off and make a loop to put some tension on this, so that I could just go ahead and run this rigging in position, because then we'll run the mizzen, we'll be set. Down here, my little lashing, this is not permanent. I've tied it off so that if I need to do some adjusting on the tension, we can. It's not super taut. It's just okay. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Let me get a little. I'm going to drill these holes out and get a line looped on here so we could get this like staged and ready to go. Okay, that's in position. I just did this loop to kind of set the distance. It's tied off. It's not cut and glued though. I want to run the crow's feet now and leave the option to adjust the tension everywhere that I can. So now I got to cut a 3-meter piece of line and we can begin the process. Alright, I've got my first line in. I realized the way I secured this little block was wrong. For some reason I had it horizontal and I really need the crow's feet thing to be vertical, but I think it's going to work. We'll see. I've got my first line in place. I'm going to go ahead and cut my little loop here and just get it out of the way. And let's see here. What end are we on? Looks like this one. Yep. So I've gone through. What's confusing me is I think I'm supposed to go back up over here. Actually, no. We should come up to this end is the way it should probably go. Let me double check this for a second here, because it seems like it should go this way, right? And then up and through. But if I come back this way, if I come back over here, the direction that I started, then we're doubling back up and we're creating a crookedness, right? We want it to make the V. So let me check something here on the instructions. Okay, so I figured out what I was doing. Pictorially on the instructions it wasn't explained, but in the verbiage it was. You're supposed to start with your knot in the middle of the gunnel here and come up and go down and hit the very top hole and then come back, down, up, down, and you just zigzag back and forth. So for example, of course now I've got all my paper in the way, I've come down on the starboard side, so I'll go through this hole. I'll try and show this here. It's really difficult to make it all line up. Alright, so that came back up. Then we'll go down to this next hole here in the, what are they calling this part? Whoops. E-Pro block? O-Pro block? I don't know how to pronounce this word. Right here. So go through there. Like that. Now we can come up to the next block. Next part of our gunnel here. I guess that's what they're calling it. Yeah. So drop it down. pull up the slack like that, and you got your next crow's feet. And you keep going back and forth until you're done. Then all you got to do is adjust the tension and everything to set up. So let me wrap this up. All right, that's it. The crow's feet are installed. The Mizzen Stay is installed. I've made my little adjustments to everything as far as the tensioning goes and applied a little CA glue to lock stuff in. Final thoughts. So I'm a little disappointed with how my initial mouse turned out up here. It's a little big, but it looks cool. And you know what? It looks a little big because the mizzen mast is small. The same size mouse on the main masts over here that are ginormous, you know, in the fore mast won't be a factor. I did try, despite my efforts, to get this mizzen line to stay straight, but there's still just a little bit of tension on here, so it's not perfectly straight off of the crow's feet. Tensioning them and trying to get everything to look nice. I actually decided, I'm like, it's more important that these look uniform and taut and nice than it is for this whole thing to be perfectly straight. In the grand scheme of things, when this is done, who's going to care? What they will care about, or what I will care about, though, is that they look nice, right? That they're straight and taut, and that's kind of the thing. This was a big selling point for me on this kit. I thought this was neat. I didn't see this feature in other models. I liked it. I want to make it. So what I'm going to do, pressing on here after vacation, is put in the stay for the mainstay. The mainstay will be next, right? It's the same thing right here. It's just going to go up front. And I'm going to try and do a better job. I also think I'm going to 3D print kind of my block ball thingy dealy for the mouse. I think there's a way to streamline how I wrap it. It occurred to me, so I was going over, under, over, under, over, under. I had an even number. I had 8 lines I was going over, under, and that causes 4 of them to be wrapped and 4 of them to always be loose. If I had gone with an odd number, 7 or 9 or 5, if you go over, under, by the time you get around, the one that's on top, or under, sorry, becomes the top one. Basically, they overlap. I'll try and show that a little bit in the next video if I get that worked out. But anyway, that's our Mizzen Stay in place. I'm super happy with it that it's coming along. And by the time this is all done, this is going to look incredible, I think. So that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching and your patience. We'll catch you out there.